is Red Hot Reds Live. Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Strauss.
Welcome to the Red Hot Reds Podcast. We are Sunday night, 8 p.m., so we are Red Hot Reds Live, and we are very thankful if you're checking us out for the first time. I'm Roger. That's Ricky. We're here from the Red Hot Reds Podcast. We're presented by Ohio Sports Talk, and we wanted to just plug the Ohio Sports Talk. Thanks to Jordan and Doug for lending us this platform. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Also Spotify for podcasts and Apple Podcasts. So welcome into the show. This is the weekly recap show for your Cincinnati Redlegs. And Ricky, I know it hasn't been a great week, but how's your week been?
Dreary. All this rain, man, and the Reds are playing terrible, so it's not a good week.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely has not been the greatest of weeks. Some near precedented historical, for the wrong reason, historical type of week. But we do have some bright spots. We do have some things to talk about that have been pretty good for Cincinnati and the minor leagues as well. But we are definitely going into their third straight loss of a series, going into now going to West Coast to play against San Francisco next week, which is not great. But to be fair, I think I texted you earlier in the week when I saw that the Milwaukee Brewers were 0-4 after playing against the New York Yankees. And I was like, that's not good, because what's going to end up happening is water finds its level. The Brewers are not going to lose every single series, and lo and behold, the Brewers did Brewer stuff. Texas Rangers are a pretty good ball club, and it turns out the Giants are a really good ball club too. I mean, I think the Giants are 7-1, the Rangers were 7-2, and now obviously the Brewers took 3 out of 4 from your Redlegs. Let's get into it, Ricky, if you're ready to. This week was kind of marred by some pretty good offensive performances, but mostly it was just not so great. We went 3 games where we lost 1-0, which was the second team ever since since the dead ball era to lose 3 straight games. I think the only other team did it 65 years ago, 1960. So, Ricky, I guess aside from Monday, which you hosted and they scored runs, and Friday, which you hosted for C-Box pregame, just shout out to Chatterbox pregame. What happened to the offense this week?
I don't know. It seems like the torpedo bats aren't what all they're cracked up to be. I don't know if they're pressing or if it's just we have a terrible lineup outside of Ellie and McLean and Friedel. I don't know. It's not what we expected coming into the year. I didn't expect them to, blow the doors off anybody, but our 1-2-3 punch is pretty solid, and CES has a ton of potential, and Candelario played pretty well the first game, so I guess maybe we just got our hopes up. I don't know. It didn't look great, and it's really disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll get into also the pitching performances that happened this week, but it feels like we let down our pitchers a bit. But I think, I don't know, a lot of the thing that I've been kind of fighting against is the commentators, the guys in the media that have been talking about, of course the Reds were supposed to be this bad. I mean, you guys are all just full of false hope to think that this ball club is going to compete on a night-in, night basis, scoring enough runs to get the job done. And I hate to admit that, at least in the early going, at least in the first 10 games of the season, they're kind of right? I mean, they've been in ball games. They're starting to get to that, Pythagorean theorem or that Pythagorean record where they have good run differential, which means they should have a better record like they did last year. They're starting to get in that territory already, which is, hang the banner, I think some people have been saying, for the Pythagorean record championship. But I mean, come on, this can't be like this has to be like a rut, right? Like this can't be what the Reds are, or is it, Ricky?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as bad forever. I because last year Candelario really came out of the gates terrible, and there was a month and a half stretch where he just hit like 15 home runs, and if he can warm up, hit well, CES is destroying the ball. Hopefully, he just finds open field, and he crushed a home run yesterday. That I notably predicted on Twitter. Uh, you know, Gavin Lux is hitting the ball pretty well. He's just not, finding green grass either. And McLean with this new hamstring injury is really concerning as well. But I think Ellie's going to heat up. The guys are going to heat up. It's just inevitable. It seems like every year for the Reds, June hits and everybody hits about 300. But yeah, it's rough. It's not looking good. And then we're going to talk about it later, but going into San Francisco, it's going to be even harder, just because their pitching is really good too.
Yeah, and I think another thing that it's not to say is the reason why they performed so poorly this week, but they did get a flu outbreak that not only knocked out Tito Francona, but a couple players and possibly a couple relief pitchers. I believe I can't remember exactly the names. But they had that going on as well on a road trip in Milwaukee where they sent guys back to the hotel. And that's never good, especially your offense is already struggling to kind of like, add insult to injury, salt in the wound. You know what I mean? This stretch, to be honest with you, Ricky, kind of reminded me of 2024. If you remember the end of April into the start of May, I believe this is probably the part of the time where they went on the road trip to the West Coast. CES got hit in the wrist. They kind of evaluated it. He sat out a game or two maybe and then came back and then ended up needing surgery. I think it was also the same trip that, we had Mr. Now Atlanta Braves outfielder, Mr. Stuart Fairchild was like hitting in the 3-hole. And you know what I mean? Like this was like they went on a stretch of like 1-10, barely just scraping enough to get a lineup together, it felt like, out on the West Coast. It kind of had those vibes. It had like, we just don't have enough people out here. Like going into today, I think Spencer Steer was hitting like .083 for the season, and shout out to him. He got his first home run, but you know what I mean? Like it's just too little too late for that. Unfortunately, he's still kind of, I don't know, like working through basically that injury that he's had throughout the spring training and coming into this year. So, I'd like to think this is going to be the low point of the season for the offense. At least that's my recollection. Like, I think it's just basically the bats aren't translating from spring training where it's nice and warm. We're going north, nice and cold, going even further north in Milwaukee where it's, possibly even colder up there. But it's for sure not necessarily the way you want to start the season, right? Putting yourself in a hole and not necessarily getting the offensive performances that you need or want.
Yeah, it's tough. Like Optimus Prime says in the chat, it's a rut. Yeah, I agree. It's tough. And I see some people blaming Francona. What is he supposed to do? I don't think Sparky Anderson can get this lineup going. We've got 5 guys that should be in AAA. And we all claimed, I'm guilty, and a lot of Twitter is I send Benson down to AAA, start the year no matter what. And I agree. And same with Marte, same with Hines. You can't ignore what Will Benson's doing in AAA and what Marte is doing in AAA. Obviously, it's not sustainable. But, I mean, if they can come up and contribute, that's better than what we got now. And Fraley's – I love Jake Fraley, but that play on the air where he just didn't hustle, that's the rough look.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely probably touch on the Jake Fraley situation in combination of possible call-ups coming up. Monday generally is a call-up day, and we're going to touch on that a little bit. And same thing that I think I echo Optimus Prime there on that comment. That is, this feels like a rut. This feels like the worst possible situation that could possibly come up for the start of the season. 3-7, and this past week was just 2-5. And I was thinking today, going into today's game, like 3-4 sounds like a decent week. Even though having that historic 3 straight losses of 1-0, 3-4 doesn't sound bad. Saturday night on Fox Sports 1 was a nice watch to see them get some runs, see some little pop out of Friedel and get that top of the lineup going. I don't know. I guess I'm coming back to the mantra, the thought process of like, man, we just may not have enough. We got guys that are injured like Hayes that hopefully can provide a spark when he gets back. Got guys in AAA that can possibly provide that spark right now. It's just I like to think that we're getting into the scenario where Tito Francona teams historically just start off slow. Like we'd like to think that, but you know what I mean. Until the results prove otherwise, it's kind of hard to change the pessimistic outlook at least at this point, because we've seen long stretches of Reds teams just not have enough offense to get the job done. And it's difficult because these guys are all professional. They're all trying their hardest. There's no doubt about that. And absolutely, the guys that are definitely trying their hardest are the starting pitchers. Like, oh yeah, golly, we are getting into a space that I don't know. I don't want to be totally optimistic or totally pessimistic this episode, but it feels like we got some guys going and they're pushing, but unfortunately, we're just not getting the run support for them. Aside from Mr. Singer, which we can talk about later, it has been kind of rough going. Like Hunter Green has looked awesome, but he's 0-1. You know what I mean? Nick Lodolo's look pretty good. Not registered any wins yet on the year, I don't think, right? So, like, Nick Martinez had a rough start. Carson Spicer has a rough start, which is, like, normal. Like, if you're going 6 out of 8 turns or 6 or 7 out of 10 turns that you're getting quality starting pitching, I mean, I'll take that every day. And we know that, necessarily that's not always going to last. Guys are not always going to pitch 33 or start 33 games this season anymore. They're going to have some issues, injuries, and whatnot. But, like, we got to take advantage, I think, right now, what these 5 guys are doing right now. And, Abbott potentially, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. But what are you seeing out of starting pitching? And do you feel the same, that we're kind of wasting these guys' efforts?
Yeah, I mean, Brady Singer is the big surprise, but I'm really satisfied with Nick Lodolo right now. He's pitched 2 games. He's 1-1. He's at a 1.42 ERA in 12 innings, almost 13 innings, and he's not striking out anybody. So I think he's learning how to pitch, like legit pitch. And he's got a WHIP of .71. If this is the Nick Lodolo, I'm happy with this. Obviously, you want to see strikeouts, but I mean, if he's putting the bat on the ball and getting guys out and limiting his pitches, I mean, second ace. I mean, this is awesome. This is exactly what we want, and especially if Singer can pitch the way he's been pitching, or at least come close to replicating it. I'm a little worried about Martinez just because he seems to blow up on the second or third time through the lineup. And, Spires, he's the 5th man. He's not going to be the everyday 5th guy. Abbott's going to come up. Louder's going to come up. Potentially Burns. I mean, we got Petty. I mean, we got a lot of guys that could come up if need be. But, yeah, I mean, I'm 1 through 3, 1 through 4 in this rotation is phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. And the big prediction from, like, Fangraphs and whatnot is that these guys are going to regress as a staff. I'm not seeing any regression. Obviously, I think the early months usually favor the colder months usually favor the starting pitchers, the pitchers in general, but they're looking electric. Green, especially, Singer, especially, just taking guys and going 7 innings deep, and you love to see it. You love to see it. You know what I mean? And you love to see it in the months of May, June, July, and August as well. But you know what I mean? That's kind of the concern, is that you know, it's kind of like football. You know what I mean? You got to have complementary. You got to have complementary baseball. You got to have the timely hitting, the offense, and you got to have the dominant pitching to get guys out, to get those 27 outs. So I don't know. Like I really like to see the Reds. They got to stretch. I think at least after this Giants series. They got the Pirates and they got the Rockies and they got the Marlins. You like to see that they take some positives out of the San Francisco trip, especially tomorrow. Ricky will be on the call for the pregame show for opening day part 2, Hunter Green versus Logan Webb. So that should be a good game to watch for all you guys that can stay up late night Reds tomorrow night. But yeah, you like to think they can get going sooner than later, so that way they can pick up 2 out of 3 wins versus the Pirates, 2 out of 3 wins versus the Marlins, 2 out of 3. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I like to think that these guys are gonna still get the job done, especially because April's still a colder month, and we got a couple homestands, and it doesn't look like it's gonna be too warm this week in Cincinnati or next week. So we should have some good things coming our way, at least on this front with the 5-man rotation with these guys going. And potentially Abbott coming up, which would be great to see him for the first time this year. But yeah. Do you see that there's any concerns out of any of these guys so far?
Really, my only concern is Martinez with his longevity. Hopefully, I might have a hot take here, but maybe put him in the bullpen, keep Spires as your 5th man, and maybe move Singer up a spot, and then have Abbott, and then you'll have 2 lefties in the rotation, and then have Martinez be your long man, because Martinez is really good. I'm not trying to downplay it at all, but this is 2 starts where he hits that wall, and it kind of falls apart. And like the Giants, he gave up the 3 runs, a 2-run homer to Chapman. And obviously our offense was terrible. and then in Milwaukee, we can't buy a run to save our lives. And had he not given up that 2-run homer, we would have lost 1-0 again. It felt like. So it's rough, but maybe that's my hot take is, when Abbott comes up, you move Martinez to the pen and keep Spires as your 5th man. For the time being, anyway.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think you have been noted to say that Spires usually has a pretty good first half of the season and drops off when it starts to get warmer. So it's, even though he didn't have a great outing today against Milwaukee, you know what I mean? It's not like, I don't think the plans are to, send him down to the minors maybe quite yet, unless that's the only, situation that they can get Abbott up is to send him down. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Martinez seems to be a guy that if he's struggling as a starter, he's got the flexibility to go into the bullpen. He's got the flexibility that if he's got his stuff back, he's going to be, top line rotation guy. I don't know. He's kind of got that quality to him that I think the Reds definitely lean into with, being able to use his flexibility to their advantage and hopefully his advantage to put him in spots where he's most effective. The other guys really don't concern me. I really would like to see, Singer definitely, get out there early and often this early parts of the season because he seems to have his stuff. And it'd be great that if it's 1, 2, 3, Hunter, Lodolo, Singer in like a series that kind of have to have or would like to have, like an easy, potential of a sweep. Like that'd be awesome, right? But, it's still early days. We got to manage these guys' arms. The only guy I think that's gone over 180 innings in the last couple of years is Singer. So at least we could also depend on his longevity to carry this staff if anything should happen to the other 2 guys of Hunter Green and Lodolo. But, that's been the positives. That's been the great takeaways so far this early day. Small sample. I mean, we're 10 games in. Yeah. 1/16 of the way, so we still got lots of baseball left. But you'd hate to waste these pitching gems. Losing 1-0 is depressing enough, but to think that we're just holding the opposition to 1 run, like you generally would take that every day, right? Like that's good stuff. Like at least from the defensive and the pitching aspect of the game, like it just kind of just feels, a bit unfortunate that this good pitching right now is coming at the cost of just not having enough offense to get the job done. So I don't know. It's Cincinnati Reds baseball, man. Like I think my father-in-law said that as well. Like the way that opening day went reminded him of seasons past where every little thing's got to go right. Otherwise, if the pitching's good and the hitting's timely and the defense is good, the other shoe to drop is that, that relief pitching down the stretch and whatnot. So I like to think that early days, Francona getting to know his staff, getting to know his players, hopefully getting players healthy sooner than later, is going to hopefully, get this team to where it should be as opposed to where it is right now. But, yeah, I mean, we didn't have much to celebrate this week, Ricky, but we do have a new home run celebration that we didn't get to talk to last week. I don't know if you got that graphic loaded. What are your thoughts? I think they call it the cash cannon. It shoots dollar bills at the guys if they hit home runs. What are your thoughts? Do you like the celebration, and how do you like it compared to the 2023? And I think they stopped it last year in May, the Viking celebration. What are your thoughts on those two?
I like it. It's a new vibe. It seems like it's not working right now at the moment, but I like Francona saying, a team that gambles together wins together, and I like that mindset. It's just it's kind of odd that we're talking about that while we're honoring Pete Rose this season. kind of a tough look, but
yeah.
One thing I'll say is shout out to all the people watching now. We're up to almost 117 viewers. You guys are awesome. Like the stream, whether you're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. It really helps out a lot. Yeah, it looks cool. Like the picture of McLean there. That's a good photo. What do you think? Are you a Viking guy or a cash guy?
Yeah, I feel like, obviously the vibes of 2023 season, you'd love to have them right now in 2025. You would love to have had them last year as well. But I don't know. Like there has to be maybe a bigger, deeper dive into why they discontinued the celebration, because it wasn't like it wasn't working. Like, I guess maybe they felt that the terrible month of May they had maybe killed the celebration and didn't want to have another terrible month going into June, because we try not to talk too much about May 2024, but sometimes it comes up. And I don't know, the cash is it real money though? I can't tell. That's what I want to know, I guess. Are we shooting out real money for incentives? Maybe this is the way the Castellinis pay McLean as opposed to the conventional way of getting his contract extended. But I guess I'm a Viking guy. I really fell back in love with the Reds in 2023, that magical summer. I like to think that maybe they can rediscover that form. Maybe they bring that celebration back. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not sure who makes the decisions on this team with regard to that. But yeah, I don't know. If the money celebration kicks us off and gets us going again in the rest of the months of April and into May, into the Reds' favorite month of June, I'm all for it. Whatever gets the guys going. McLean looks, like you said, really happy there, so why not? He's having a great start to the season, aside from his little, hamstring injury that's been bothering him of late. I'm all for it. Whatever gets these guys going, because we could sure use it right now going into this Giants series for sure.
Yeah, I think the FanDuel TV broadcast, Jim Day said it's $1 million bills. And I think the photo is of Terry Francona in the center, and and it says the greatest nation on earth or something like that in the instead of on the money. But yeah, I like it. Whatever it is, it beats running into the tunnel.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, again, hopefully this is not the way the Castellinis are also going to pay Ellie as well. This is. I think they also open themselves up for lots of jokes, in this regard, because of the fact that the Reds are not necessarily the biggest spending team in the Midwest or the Major League Baseball in general. So yeah, this hopefully will kickstart them. That's all I can really hope for in terms of a celebration. But yeah, speaking though of money and Matt McLain, it was reported by Gordon Whitmire a little bit early, a couple days ago, I want to say 2 or 3 days ago, that the Reds front office approached Matt McLain in spring training before opening day about a contract extension. Now, as far as we know, as of this recording, we don't know any of the details of this contract extension. I think we have some takes on it, obviously, from what we can gather between me and Ricky and our, extensive knowledge of Cincinnati front office tactics. But this is kind of interesting news to kind of come out, especially because he had a pretty decent start to the season. He's got 3 home runs, leading the team in home runs. But now he's got a nagging hamstring injury that's kind of complicated things a little bit. Hopefully it's nothing major. Hopefully something we can see him tomorrow night back on the field. But what were your initial thoughts when you heard about this contract extension talk for Mr. Matt McLain?
I think anytime you hear Cincinnati Reds and contract extensions stalled, it makes you nervous, just based off of history. It's unclear, obviously, what the offer was. I'd like to assume it was probably somewhere in the ballpark of what Jackson Merrill got in San Diego and what Lawrence Butler got in with the Athletics. Jackson Merrill's contract was 9 years, $135 million, and Lawrence Butler was 7 years, $65.5. I think he's worth easily that. In our eyes, probably more. I think he's probably our best player other than Ellie. I mean, even with Ellie, just based on how he plays, it's just his health is concerning. But yeah, it's concerning, but I'm not there yet. We're 2 years in. We still have him, I think, the same length we have Ellie up until 2029, or at least 2028, 2029. So I'm not like panic button yet, but if this happens next year and the year after, I'm gonna really start to get nervous.
Yeah, I tend to agree, especially just extension talks generally, not just with the Reds, but maybe even like the Cincinnati Bengals. The whole city tends to have a little bit of trepidation and lack of trust for the ownership group to either get the job done or necessarily just, I don't know. I like to think that the way that they go about it is that they're trying to, obviously get the best deal for the Reds because they're not necessarily the biggest spenders. So they're trying to get, maybe into the game of Hunter Green type of style of contract where he got locked up real early, even though that at the time it seems kind of like Hunter Green hasn't even shown signs that he's going to be all he was billed to be, all he was made up to be, right? Because he was a really hot prospect. And I think his first season really coming up, they went 7 years, $53 million. And I also tend to think that, knowing, I guess, the way the front office kind of works, is that I think his contract offer, Matt McLain's contract offer, that is, was closer to Butler's than it was Jackson Merrill. Just because I don't think that the Reds are in the business of handing out $100 million contracts, given the Joey Votto of it all, the fact that, I don't know, I think the front office probably saw his contract as kind of this hanging albatross that hung over the payroll for the last 4 to 5 seasons, where he was getting, a huge chunk of money, but they didn't necessarily have enough money to build anything around him. So I, to be honest, to be even the most cynical, it probably might have been even closer to Green's contract, where it could have been 7 years and $50 million in that realm, because of the fact he missed all last year. I wouldn't be surprised if they really lowballed him, even though that McLain in the offseason switched his agent. He went from the Boris agency to, I forget the new one, but a different agency that, not necessarily has the same reputation as Scott Boras, where Scott Boras holds out for the most money. unfortunately, I think Scott Boras represents Ellie. So we got to look forward to that type of, combating of the front office and Scott Boras coming down the line. But with regards to McLean, there had been a lot of also pieces that I saw in the spring training, like we got to get that Lawrence Butler type deal for McLean before it potentially, he had a 3.6 WAR season in 2023. And if he has something similar this year, he's definitely going to be closer to the Jackson Merrill type contract, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to the contract talks, try to get him even in a lower type deal, something cheaper in the vein of like Lawrence Butler, 65, 70 million. Like I can see 7 years, 70 million. I'm not sure if that's something McLean is interested in signing. He's still obviously, like under team control for a long time, but I don't know. It'd be nice to get a guy like him, extended. So you're avoiding arbitration. You're avoiding headaches of him, being unhappy with, contract talks and whatnot. But at the same time, I think McLean's team and him are being smart by possibly holding out, because if he does have a great season, he does not want, maybe Lawrence Butler's numbers, So yeah, we'll see how it plays out in the next. I don't know. Hopefully, this is something that, like you said, isn't being talked about like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins type of situation. Right. That would be
Trey Hendrickson and everybody else.
Yeah, that'd be a big headache for sure.
But, and kind of going back to Hunter Green, he just recently became the fastest Red to 500 strikeouts. So like, it's huge, man. That contract is a steal for us. Like, just looking at hindsight, I think I had the picture saved. He will be due in 2026. He will make $8.3 million, and in 2027 he gets a pretty significant pay raise, but it's only 15.3. So by the end of his contract in 2028, we're looking at 16.3, and we have a club option in 2029 for 21 million. So we're looking at, as long as he's healthy, one of the cheaper starting pitchers in baseball and one of the best. And we we got so lucky with that. It is unbelievable. What a contract.
Yeah, it is kind of amazing looking back on it, because I definitely remember when it was first signed, everyone's like, are you kidding? Like, this is a guy that's unproven. But if you really think about it, it's actually really good baseball business. The Atlanta Braves are really notorious for signing these type of contracts where they're young and like they're definitely like not necessarily established, but they lock them in early. So that way they avoid all arbitration and also headaches of, going down to the wire where this guy's value just keeps skyrocketing and whatnot. So yeah, it's definitely a win for Team Castellini and a win for the Cincinnati Reds in terms of just getting a guy that will be a perennial Cy Young top 5 for the next foreseeable future. And, hopefully he's the next fastest guy to 1,000 strikeouts and the next fast, you know what I mean? So we're definitely, and he's been pitching awesome this year. Like it's like every single start, it seems like that contract becomes a better deal. It would seem. So like, yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, it's definitely a guy, I think we unfortunately got cut short, for our last stream talking about captains. He's definitely also just a guy that you want to be your captain of the club. He's a leader on and off the field. And I think he's really growing into his own voice and whatnot and contributing to the community. So like, he's not just a great baseball player. He's also a great man.
Yeah, absolutely. That giveaway he did, one of the largest ever, and at least in Cincinnati area. I don't know, maybe nationally too. Yeah, he's a great man. Hopefully, I'd like to see him get the Roberto Clemente Award, just because I think he deserves it. He's just a great person. I'm so happy he's a Red.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that'd be hardware for the Reds this year then.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we're also what was the record? I was saying, we got obviously some good performances that have been happening at the big league ball club, although mixed in with a lot of guys that have been struggling. But we definitely also have a bunch of guys that are doing well at AAA and could potentially be called up to the majors soon. And like I think I had said earlier, Monday is usually call-up day because the way that the minors work is they have Mondays off and they have long home stands or away stands from Tuesday to Sunday. So we've got some guys that could be potentially called up very soon, maybe as soon as Monday. And we'll profile also how the minors did later in a different segment. But what are your thoughts? Who do you think is the first guy called up? I know I'll probably, again, always have to bring this up, but my Cooper Bowman take is just not aging that well when we got we got all these other guys that are doing really well in AAA and whatnot. But who do you see as the first guy getting called up potentially as early as Monday?
I think probably the earliest would probably be Will Benson, just based off of the fact that, none of our outfielders other than TJ Friedel are doing anything. Blake Dunn had the home run the other night. But Will Benson, man, he has done everything that I wanted him to do when he got sent down to AAA. He's batting .341. He's got 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and he's got a .942 OPS in 41 at bats. I think he might be ready. Hopefully, it's a 2023 situation where he needed just to work on a couple things, see the ball, see some good pitching, but not quite major league pitching, and just get that confidence back. Like, he's a really good player, and there was too many people on Red social media that wanted to hang his head, man. I get it. Like, last year it was terrible, but it wasn't his fault. And we had to play him every day, no matter if it was righty or lefty. It didn't matter, and it didn't work out. And I think having Francona kind of mentor him a little bit. He did have him in Cleveland for that one little stretch before he got traded to the Reds.
Yeah. And
if he can come back and at least be, a 250 plus hitter, maybe throw in a couple home runs. I'm not, I have high hopes for Benson. I think he could be a 30-30 guy if everything works out. But if he could give us, 15 home runs, 20, 25 stolen bases, and, bat 250 and not strike out 1,000 times, I think he's a lot better than what Fraley's going to give us. And that's I'm not a Fraley hater by any means. I envy what he went through last year. But with that being said, I mean, you have a job to do. And, I don't think Blake Dunn's ready. And I'm not a big Hurtubise believer. I'm not a hater, but I don't think he provides a spark to the lineup, especially off the bench, that this team needs.
Yeah, definitely this team needs a spark. And these 3 guys that we have up here, Hines, Marte, and Benson, definitely could be those guys. We're going to talk about Hines a little bit later. He didn't have the greatest of week. He started off great because Louisville started their season on March 28th. So this week, went from the 31st to today, and unfortunately, he didn't have not so great week. So I don't see him being called up tomorrow or anytime soon. He probably has some little bit things to work on, and he's a very streaky hitter as well. So if he can iron out some of that streakiness, I think it'd be great. The guy I got coming up tomorrow, I think is Marte. We have, obviously some guys in the infield that kind of clutter it up with, Candelario and Lux and all that, but the pop and the ability just to have that spark is sorely needed. You know what I mean? Lux and Candelario are fine. They're veteran guys that will play wherever you need them. You can move Candelario over to first or DH or whatever, but we need something more to really energize this ball club, especially with the struggles we've already profiled so far. And his week has been great. He seems to be confident again. We've profiled him already with the infield episode about he's working on his defense. So I say, why not? You know what I mean? Like, let's get this guy up here. Let's get a spark. It's desperately needed. Like, obviously, I think you had joked early in the week that you were willing to drive guys from Louisville if need be, just to get something. You know what I mean? Just to get some bodies that will inspire this team, because Steer is pretty inspiring that he's battling through this, and I don't know if it's a pride thing for Spencer Steer to be like, I don't want to be put on the IL or I don't want to be put down in the minors, but like you can't hit .083 and think that that's going to help our ball club win when he's also just DHing exclusively, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not calling him out like to be the guy that gets sent down, but Marte could definitely take that spot in the lineup. You'd have to move some things around, obviously. You know what I mean? Espinal's been playing a lot with McLean out, but maybe Lux goes to second and Espinal out to the outfield or whatever. It ends up being the best lineup for that given time, and then put Candelario at DH. You know what I mean? So there has to be something has to be done. I think all of Reds Nation is wanting something to be done tomorrow, call-up day, more or less. I don't know. I guess we need some sort of spark. We need something to come out to get us going on this, small road trip out west, and then hopefully a nice homestand against those Pirates that they're definitely doing pirate things from what I've seen. So, but yeah, any other thoughts on anybody else maybe outside these three guys that can possibly be called up?
I've seen some Callahan chatter. That's possible. I'm not there yet. Marte, he's batting .353. He smoked 110-mile-an-hour double yesterday, and he's got 3 stolen bases. The home run's not there yet, but AAA stadiums are harder to hit home runs in than opposed to like Great American. But he's batting .353. He's at a .954 OPS, and he's got 3 stolen bases. So I mean, he's everything that you want in our lineup right now. And he's just, if the defense is there, hey, he can't be worse than Candelario at third. I think the easy fix, if they were to do a double move, you bring up Benson and Marte, you option down Fraley, you throw Steer on the IL, and then you got an outfielder and an infielder. And then, I like Lux has actually been playing pretty well in the outfield. I like that. Maybe I'd like to see Espinal more at second and third, just because his glove work is great. He reminds me so much of like Orlando Cabrera back in the day. And yeah, he's not the best hitter. I don't want to see him batting second where he's been batting at lately. But what are you supposed to do? We got no one else that can hit. It's like pick your poison. Who's going to get out?
Yeah, at the very least, don't bat him third. Let's not do that. Let's not.
Yeah.
We're going to do the Fairchild and the 3-hole out in San Diego type of stuff. But anyway, you mentioned minor league stats, and we got a new segment that's going to talk about the week that was for the Reds minor league system, and we call in 3 up, 3 down, 3 guys that are up and doing well and hitting the ball, seeing the ball, or pitching the ball well, and 3 guys that are kind of down and not doing as well as we hope that they would do in the minors so far. Now, this is just a week sample, so obviously a small sample size, but we've got 3 guys here that have pretty decent performances in the games that they played in this week. The first guy is our, presumptive ace, our guy that's working the Rhett Lauder track by going first to Dayton and then hopefully soon to Chattanooga and then to AAA. I mean, we could very well see that being the case this year, that we'll see Chase Burns in AAA before we know it. But in his debut on Friday, Dayton Dragons started their season on the 4th Friday. He went 4 innings, 6 strikeouts, 1 hit, no runs against. And unfortunately, though, after they took him out in the 5th inning, the Dragons blew up and lost the game 7-0. But you know what I mean? We're not here to win minor league championships. We want to, win World Series. So it's good to see that Burns is getting work in. Probably got to go get tickets to see Dayton Dragons sooner than later, because I don't think he'll be with the Dragons longer than probably mid-May at the earliest. So there's that. The second guy that's up, Sal Stewart. He went 4 for 9 this week with 1 home run. Just hit the home run today. So it's good to see that he's got the pop going. But he also had 2 stolen bases for Chattanooga. So it's good to see that he's got his stuff going. Chattanooga also only started on Friday, so they only had a 3-game series this week. So a pretty small sample size, but it's good to see Sal Stewart, one of the heralded prospects of the Reds Nation, to start off his first 3 games with pretty good stats. And the guy we also just touched on earlier for AAA, Noelve Marte, had a pretty decent week. He hit 348 with 3 stolen bases, like you had mentioned. He's getting out there, and I feel like the Reds haven't been really stealing a lot of bases this season, unless it's just me, or maybe it's just the David Bell kind of chaos, baseball that was happening last year that it felt like they were just stealing bases left and right. But this year maybe there's more restraint. But anyway, but he also had 4 RBIs this week. And they, AAA, played a full slate of 6 games this week, so it was good to see Marte do pretty well this week. And, any thoughts on these guys or any other honorable mentions for the minor leaguers that are doing well so far?
Yeah, I mean, all these guys are, phenomenal players. Burns, there's no way. I'm going to do a hot take here. I'm full of hot takes. There's a chance we could see all 3 of these guys on the Reds by September.
Okay.
If Sal Stewart, he's so good. He hits the ball to all fields. He's got gap power. He's been working on hitting more home runs. Double A is going to be hard. Just Double A is hard to hit home runs in. He crushed that one the other day. And, Marte, we need him. And if he can do what I've seen him do in 2023, he's going to be one of our top 3 best players on the team. And then Chase Burns, they could go if they had to, they could go with like a Tampa Bay Rays David Price situation where they brought him in to be their closer, and then the next year they worked on him being a starter. So maybe I'm not going to say he's going to be our closer, but maybe put him in the bullpen, just get his feet wet, especially if the other guys in the rotation are playing well. And, we have other guys coming up too, like Maxwell and May. We have an older bullpen. If we can get a youth infusion with like Maxwell, May, and Burns just for this season, I mean, if our offense can come alive, man, it's hard. It's so hard because our offense has been so bad. But like we're only 10 games in, so the sky's not falling yet. It's rough. We got a lot of football fans that are Reds fans also. So you see 3-7 or whatever, and it's just it's over. But they could go out and lose 3 games next month, and they could be first place in the entire National League. So anything can happen. But yeah, I mean, there's a small chance, but there's a chance we could see all 3 of these guys on the big league club come September.
Yeah, for sure. I echo that. I think even, it's not a guarantee when you call up like Marte or Benson or Hines that they're going to set the Reds lineup on fire with their, mere presence. So like if those guys aren't getting the job done and we don't have guys in AAA that seem even like Callahan or whatnot are not getting the job done at the big league level, yeah, Stewart could possibly skip AAA and be the guy that maybe provides a spark or maybe takes a couple weeks in AAA to get called up way before September. So who knows? It's a good point. Offense, obviously is hard to come by lately. So we'll take anybody that's seeing the ball well, and then just get it going. And it's very promising that the stolen bases out of Marte. It's not necessarily his forte, and Optimus Prize has cut him loose. Yeah, maybe that's the thing. Maybe the reason why our offense is a little bit stagnant is that maybe that chaos ball that Bell, maybe we got to find split the difference, right? Maybe we can't be too restrained. Maybe we got to cut him loose a little bit, get Ellie on the base paths. I mean, he notoriously stole those 3 bases against the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee. Maybe that's a recipe for manufacturing runs, putting pressure on the defense. You know what I mean? Since we're not having the pop that we need, especially guys like Fraley and Candelario and whatnot, are not really hitting as well as they should. We need something. You know what I mean? Put pressure on the defense. Why not? Let's go for that. But before we get there, 3 guys that have not performed too well, and unfortunately, it's still early season, just like for the big league club. So we're not expecting these guys to have any, sort of prolonged struggles, but some guys that are not necessarily performing up to expectations. And in Double A, we got Ethan O'Donnell. He went 1 for 10 with 2 strikeouts. Not necessarily, doing too well. 3-game sample size as well. but it's some guy that not necessarily a high ranking prospect for us, but a guy that a left-handed bat you'd love to see start to figure some things out and maybe make it up to AAA this year at the very least is I think the expectation. Another guy, single A guy, Carlos Jorge. I was thinking that he possibly could have started in Chattanooga this year, but he remained again in Dayton. And like I said, Dayton and Chattanooga only had 3 games going into this taping, and they're going to have a full week next week. So hopefully both these guys can bounce back. But Carlos Jorge went 0 for 9 and 3 strikeouts and not seeing the ball terribly well. So it's unfortunate. I'd like to see him succeed. I've seen him in Dayton a couple times, and he's hit a couple home runs while I've been at the game. So definitely love to see him get back on track this week for Dayton, who actually I think both Dayton and Chattanooga, shout out to them, have their home openers on Tuesday, April 8th. So if you're in that area, go out and see them. Also shout out, Dayton is starting their 25th season as a ball club, and they're having like a bunch of prizes and giveaways and whatnot. So get down to the ballpark in Dayton or Chattanooga and support, the younger Redlegs, the future Redlegs, and hopefully see some good baseball. Well, it's a little tangent, but I generally like seeing minor league baseball a little bit, sometimes more than major league baseball, but that's just me, But another guy we talked about earlier about being a guy potentially called up, Rhys Hines. He started on fire the first 3 games, hitting the ball hard, seeing it just like Marte and Benson did in that opening series at home. But they went on the road to Omaha this past week, the AAA club, Louisville did, and Hines did not have the greatest of weeks. He went 2 for 22, which is a .091 batting average with 10 strikeouts for the week. So much like I think Benson has to work on cutting down those strikeouts, Hines as well, like for sure. 10 of those, at bats being strikeouts, that's nearly 50% of the at bats that he's out there. So if he is to be called up later in the season, which I think both expect he will, that number's got to come down. That strikeout percentage definitely has got to come down. And, something I think we talked about in the farm system episode is that he's got to work on that if he wants to be a contributor to the big league ball club. I know he had that magical week last year, but you know what I mean? He could be called up, this time, or he could be called up like he was last year and have a horrible week. You know what I mean? And then what's the sample size on that? Like, we can't really go off that 1 week thinking that's what's going to be Rhys Hines' future. He really's got to figure it out down there. But yeah, what are your thoughts on these guys or any other guys that may have had a rough week this week?
Yeah, I think I worry most about Hines just because we need outfielders. It's hard. We have no outfield depth. We don't. We were really reliant on Austin Hendrick becoming something, and it just hasn't happened. And it's probably never going to happen. Sadly, I'll never give up faith on the kid because he's my Jose Barrero. So it's hard. It's difficult just because he showed that promise during that stretch when he got called up. He really he injected that spark that gave us hope for 2024, and what a week that was. Being your debut week, you get Player of the Week. You hit what do you have, like 6 home runs, a grand slam against the Marlins. Like, that was what a week. It just it really tempered out, and strikeouts are his main issue. He's not a bad defender, but yeah, I mean, Hines is really my biggest worry. At least with the other two, they're pretty low in the rankings of like where they're playing. Like Carlos Jorge, I think isn't he transitioning to the outfield if I remember right? Yeah. So that could be something. It's only a week. Same with was it O'Donnell? He's just you want to see you'd like to see something, but like I said, it's only been a week. We're about April 6th today, so if they're on this list in a month, then maybe we'll throw up a little white flag, something.
Yeah.
What do you think? Who's your biggest concern?
Yeah, Hines, I'd like to see him figure some stuff out. I think also Austin Hendrick down in Chattanooga at 0 for 9 or 1 for 9 this week, so he didn't have a great start in the 3 games as well. So, yeah, it's early going. I think the biggest concern is that the Major League Ball Club needs somebody to come up at this time. Unfortunately, Hines is not the guy. It doesn't concern me that much that he's struggling early on. I think hopefully he can catch fire, or maybe draw some inspiration if Benson gets called up or Marte gets called up and he's not the guy. Hopefully he takes that personally and works on his game and gets that going. I'd love to see it because he definitely had that spark last season, but he's got to figure it out. I think the reason why he only had that 1 week is that he had such a high strikeout rate last season as well in the minors, and it's not going well right now at the moment. So that's a bit concerning, I guess. Not 10 out of 10 concern, but 3 out of 10 concern to see that's not kind of figured out, the strikeout rate. But yeah, I think that the minors are obviously a place to work on things. So if he has some bad weeks, okay, but if he has some really good weeks, we're going to profile him and hopefully he'll keep that confidence and momentum going so that he can hopefully get called up to the big league club sooner than later.
Yeah, that'd be more than ideal. Just especially if our offense on the big league club isn't doing what we want it to do. We really need Hines and Marte and Benson and potentially other guys as well that maybe come out of nowhere. Just we need a spark, and yeah, it's just rough. It's a really gloomy, really first full week of the season.
Yeah, well, despite that, though, we did have some good performances, and we are now getting into our segment of Red of the Week. And, obviously 2-5, nobody wants to go 2-5 every single week. That obviously stinks, just to say the least. But we've got a couple guys that we're going to profile here for this Red of the Week. And, Ricky, I don't know if you want to go first or I go first. I think we talked about this in pre-production.
Yeah.
So
I'll go first. My Red of the Week is TJ Friedl. I could have went with Ellie just based off the Monday game against Texas, but Friedl was 9. He's 9 for 29 with 2 walks. This so far he's batting .310 with a .355 on base and a slugging .414, and he's got that home run that he hit the other night in Milwaukee. He was kind of critiqued on Twitter yesterday about why is he our leadoff guy, which I understand. There's people that want Ellie to bat leadoff or McClain to bat leadoff. You typically want your 2 best hitters batting 1-2. Friedl, last year was rough. He didn't do what we expected him to. He was hurt a lot, and if he can be the Friedl that we had in 23, he was a really good leadoff option. So yeah, it's a good sign to have him do what he's doing right now. Just he's got to be a little bit more consistent. If he can stay healthy and really string together some good at bats, I think he's a really legit leadoff option. And that was a good week that he had.
Oh yeah, for sure. And my guy that had, I think, an even better week. Friedl had those 2 games. Unfortunately, the other 5 games we're not going to talk about too much. But
yeah.
my guy had 2 games, and those 2 games where Friedl did great was Mr. Brady Singer, starting pitcher, traded. It looks like we're winning the Jonathan India trade, at least so far in the early going. Congrats to India and his new child and all that. Hopefully he's doing well in Kansas City. But Brady Singer came out, and the stat of the day was that Brady Singer was the first Reds pitcher to go 7 or more innings and shutout ball in his Reds debut since Tom Seaver in 1977. So how about that? And that was on Monday. Ricky's Chatterbox Reds pregame show got him all fired up and got him to pitch one of the best debut performances ever by a Red Leg. So shout out to Ricky for that, getting that going for us at the start of the week. And shout out to Brady Singer for bringing it home, get that first win of the week. And we were thinking we're going 7-0 this week. We got offense and torpedo bats out the wazoo. There's no way we can be stopped, right? Like we saw what happened with the Yankees. Yankees are mashing, right? So like, that's going to be our future, right? No, unfortunately not. But at the same time, Brady Singer followed up on Saturday, the Fox Sports 1 National Game of the Week, and he got a lot of run support. I guess we should talk about this in this section. I don't know what's going on, but like we are getting a lot of run support for one guy. And I know we were texting back and forth that Hunter Green generally doesn't get the run support. Seems like Lodolo, Martinez, and Spires don't get that run support either. So, it's definitely concerning to see that 2 straight games, Brady Singer gets 10+ runs. We got to somehow spread that around or something. You know what I mean? Like it's getting a little ridiculous that Singer's getting all the run support. But he went 2-0 this week, 2.25 ERA, 12 innings, and 15 strikeouts. So hey, he's my Red of the week. Any thoughts on run support or anything else that's been happening around Mr. Singer?
Yeah, I just had a thought. 2023, we had the Luke Weaver experience where it seems like every time he'd go out, he'd give up 15 runs and we'd score 16. So it's kind of like the Luke Weaver experience, is that he's shutting guys out. So I'm here for it, man. This is awesome. Yeah. Brady Singer, he's phenomenal. I'm loving it.
Yeah, a little bit different than the Luke Weaver experience, where we're not giving up. Although Saturday got close, it got 11-7, so it was echoes of that experience where he nearly, that was the bullpen mostly. I don't think Singer gave up all 7, but anyway, the point being is that we're hopefully going to get some more run support for these guys in the upcoming week. And before we get to the upcoming week preview, we have hopefully a new popular segment that we're going to clip and send out everywhere and get all the engagement we can. But this, unfortunately, we weren't able to get to this last week because of the storm. But this week, we're going to set up the Reds Facebook comment of the week. And Ricky, if you want to take it away, go ahead.
Yeah, I was scouring Reds Facebook, and this one, I'm never going to put anybody's names in it unless they DM us and want to be on the show. So if you want to own it, go ahead, feel free, DM us, But this one, is it true Matt McLain, who just missed a whole season, turned down the Reds extension offer? Piss on him then. Let him finish his contract and good riddance. Thoughts?
Me? Oh my goodness. For one, first thought is it's not Matt McLain. For one, it's Matt McLain.
Yes.
So that's a huge typo that shows what kind of fan this is. Obviously, maybe he could try to blame autocorrect. You know what I mean? Matt McLain is not necessarily the most popular surname in the United States, but at the same time, you know what I mean? It's 4 or 5 sentences later, or 4 or 5 thoughts later, he's still got Matt McLain in there. But that's besides the point. Yeah, okay, I get it. They're upset, and let him finish his contract and good riddance. Like, I don't think that's happening either. I'm just I'm no expert on Reds contracts or Reds front office stuff, but I know for sure this is not a guy that they're just going to kind of let go like a Devin Mesoraco, where they're just going to arbitrate him, and then when it gets the control, let him go as a free agent and see where he goes elsewhere. I don't think so. Obviously, we can hold the thought that if he does get injured, obviously it'd be a different story if he's just constantly plagued by injuries. But I don't know. Early going so far, he's been the best hitter for the Reds. You know what I mean? I think he's already at like 1.0 WAR or something like that for the season with the 3 home runs. So this is a guy that you definitely don't want to just let him finish his contract and see you later. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? It's tough to give these guys any argument back, because I think it's like that's what Reds Facebook is for, right? Just straight up arguing, not necessarily constructively, but just getting off your most. I mean, I don't even want to address like what he said with the anyway. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm never going to claim to be an expert, but it just shows you how many casuals that are just want to be haters more than anything. It's like, why cheer for the team if this is all you want to muster up, or an excuse, a piss poor excuse of a comment. Matt McLain is arguably our best hitter on this team. Elliott's got the most pop, other than him and CES, but consistency. McLain is our best hitter. He's gonna put the ball in play, whether it's in the gaps or over the fence, and he's arguably our best defender as well, playing second base. There's no way they're gonna trade this guy with 4 years on his contract, and there's no way they're gonna let him walk when his contract is up. Now, health obviously is a concern, but if he's going to be what we think he can be, they're going to extend. He's going to be the one that gets extended over everybody. I think he's the most obtainable. It's just you can't get mad at a guy who missed a full season and then probably got lowballed with an offer. So that's my take. I think pump the brakes, let the guy play, let him get back healthy. He's going to be fine. He's 24, 25, 24. We're going to be fine. Let him play. They're going to do something with him.
Yeah, I have a feeling this guy or girl or whomever it is also had thoughts about the Hunter Green extension too, and probably didn't feel great about or had some negativity thrown Hunter's way for whatever reason. But yeah, it's besides the point. So, but yeah, going into now next week, we've got hopefully a promising West Coast trip. We play against the San Francisco Giants, which I think are 7-1, and just walked off somebody just today. Again, Wilmer Flores. I just saw the highlight. Walked off to win the game for this Red Hot Giants team. So let's hope that water is going to find its level for both teams, where the Giants are going to cool off and the Reds are going to get hot going into the Pirates series. Then on the weekend, a home stretch or a home game stretch, 3 games on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I believe, right? So we're definitely, hopefully, going into a next show with some more positivity, some more wins, and no Paul Skeens, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. My biggest worry is just our bats. We're going into San Francisco. They have a spacious outfield, so if we got a better chance of finding the gaps there than we do in Milwaukee. If we can get the Logan Webb, I think he's their starter tomorrow, right, against Hunter Green.
Yep.
I'd like to see some runs. Hopefully, we do make a move where somebody gets called up. Hopefully, it's Will Benson and Fraley get swapped or something. Just we need. Yeah, how fitting would it be if Benson comes up and puts one in McCovey Cove? It would be incredible. And then as in Lodolo starting game 2, and then Martinez starting game 3. And then with the Pittsburgh series coming back home, I think coming home could kind of rejuvenate us a little bit. The weather's supposed to be clearing up a tad. There's some pretty good flooding going on around here.
Yeah.
If hopefully, like I said, there's some moves made and we avoid Paul Skeens. Hopefully there's a chance maybe Sunday. Just depends on the pecking order, I guess. But yeah, I think we're both going to the game Saturday. That'll be, maybe we'll do a quick live pop up from the ballpark and eat some Sky Roses or something. But it's like, what's your main takeaway from, I guess, specifically the Giants series?
Yeah, I like to think that the Giants are going to cool off. I mean, they walked off today. They walked us off on opening day, essentially. I don't know. They're obviously a good organization, and I don't know if they're going to be playing 7-1 baseball all year. But you had mentioned, Green's going again, so we got confidence having Green on Monday, which you'll be doing the pregame show for that, which would be great. And then Lodolo versus Rupp. I don't know, pitcher for the Giants. And then, Wednesday, the getaway game, Martinez versus Verlander. So we didn't have great luck against Verlander our first go-around. So hopefully Martinez will be on his game and Verlander will be not. You know what I mean? I can see 2 out of 3. These Giants obviously are a good ball club, but they're not 7-1 good for the rest of the year. The Pirates series, they don't have the probable starters yet, but Fangraphs had predicted that Abbott might be pitching on Saturday. So be looking out for that tomorrow as a potential call-up for Abbott to come to the club. Not sure exactly who they'd be sending down. There was, I think, a piece out there that said like Sam Mole or Ashcraft because they've got options. But, Mole had a kind of not so great day today. But I don't see – he's a left-hander out of the bullpen. I don't know. I can't see them really sending out Ashcraft because he's looked pretty good as well. But we'll see. After Monday, we might have more clarity on, who's coming up and who's going down, obviously. And hopefully we'll have a good 2 series, hopefully 2 winning series, because I saw a stat for the Pirates is that Paul Skeens has a 1.74 ERA for the season so far, right? And the rest of the starters for the Pittsburgh Pirates, 7.74. So, like I said, even if we get Skeens, we probably get 2 out of 3 easily, is my thought. So, I don't know. Any other last thoughts coming up this week?
No. Ellie bobblehead on Saturday. It's going to be cool. That's a switch hitting bobblehead. So there's a left-handed hitting Ellie and a right-handed hitting Ellie. It's UC alumni night as well, I think you said, right? And, it's hopefully, I think the weather's supposed to be clearing up. So I think it's going to be hopefully a good weekend. Hopefully we can get, I'd like to see a split at worst against San Francisco. I mean, it's going to be hard, but if we can get some runs on the board, if McClain, if he can play and Ellie can perform, we just need to see some signs. It's rough when you get shut out 1-0 in 3 straight games, and could have been a 4th. That would have been an all-time record had that had happened. And it's not fair. I keep harping on it. It's not fair to Francona because he's not the one putting the team together. He's the one that's putting the lineup together, and he's doing what he can with what he has. And you got guys like Espinal, Steer, who's hurt, Candelario, who's not playing well, CES is hitting the ball hard but not getting any luck. Fraley, who just, I don't know what's going on with Fraley. And you're missing Hayes and you're missing Steer. It's rough. So hopefully we can get something going.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love to see it, especially against a hot Giants team that won 2 out of 3 on the opening series of the season. So yeah, it'll hopefully be good vibes, some nice call-ups to get us sparked, and hopefully a good home series where we get to enjoy some Sky Rosa and Ellie bobblehead. But check out Ricky tomorrow on Chairbox pregame show. We'll be going on an hour before first pitch. Check that out. Also, check out Ricky on X, on Instagram. We got a Red Hot Reds pod. We got Facebook, all that good stuff. Jordan and Doug will be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. for Ohio Sports Talk, their usual wrap-up show for the weekend. And as always, Ricky, go Reds.
Go Reds.
Thank you for watching the Red Hot Reds podcast, presented to you by Ohio Sports Talk.